All right, I've got this example project here loaded up in my NetBeans. Here it is. I've opened it up, and here are the files. And I wanted to start with a file called Bake Cookie, which is currently on your screen. What we're going to do is we're going to create some cookies, and we're going to see how we can manipulate them as well. The reason that we have cookies in HTML and HTTP is because HTTP is what's called a stateless protocol. When you make a request for a web page, the server sends you back a response and then disconnects from you. And it has to be that way. Otherwise, servers would be overloaded. They have to be ready for new requests all the time. So as soon as they finish responding to a request, they close the connection. And well, cookies were developed to try to counteract that, to try and create some sort of a relationship between the server and the client at the other end of the planet somewhere. And by storing cookies on the in the user's browser, there was a way that information could be passed back to the server on the next visit. And that's basically what happens. If you go to a website that has code in it that could set a cookie, that cookie gets set in your browser. And when you return, every time you go back to that website, the cookie comes with your request. And you can use code on the server to work with that cookie data and do things like determine your preferences. Like maybe you like a particular font or something like that. They could set the font for you with the information from the cookie. Typically, as you well know, it's used by advertisers. Advertisers read your cookies and give you those ads on the websites that allow ads. And that would be third-party cookies. Okay, so take a look at this. Here we have it. It's a little. This is just an HTML page, and it's going to call a file called Bake Cookie PHP, and we have two text fields, one called user, one called password. And what we're going to do is pass these pieces of data, and then we're going to store them in a cookie. If we take a look at Bake Cookie, here's Bake Cookie, the PHP file. Pretty simple. What we're going to do is use filter input and read the user data from the text box, and do the same for the password. And then we'll create a cookie. And to do that, you use the set cookie function in PHP. Set the cookie, you choose a name for the cookie, the data for the cookie, and then an expiry date. And in this case, we're setting the expiry date to be 2 months from today. Using string to time gives you a timestamp of the current date. And if we add 2 months to it, this cookie will have an expiry date 2 months from today. And we do the same thing with the other cookie called password, and we're going to give it the variable $pass that we've read out of the HTML page. So this should set 2 cookies. Let's give it a try. Open it up my browser here. See, the easiest way for me to do that is I'm just going to click on admin in my XAMPP and go to the chapter 12 folder, and I want Bake Cookie. All right, so I'm going to put in here test user, and password is going to be password, which is, of course, is horrible. But all right, we just baked the cookie. I'll save that. So as you can see, the cookies were set, and we are running the Bake Cookie PHP file. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at your cookies, but let's take a look at the cookie that just got set. I can do it here in Chrome by clicking up here on the Customize and Control menu. And if I select Settings and scroll down to choose the Advanced tab, make this a little bit bigger here. And then in the Advanced tab, if I scroll down and choose Content Settings, there is a link here for cookies. If I click on that, it'll show me my settings for my cookies, some settings, but what I want to really see all the cookies and site data right here. So this should show the cookies that are currently set on in my browser, in my Chrome browser. And as you can see, because we just visited that Tyobe website, they set a cookie or two on my computer. Because I'm using Zoom, wow, Zoom has set 31 cookies. Wow, a lot of cookies. St. Pete College has set 10 cookies. But let's find localhost here. Here's localhost. Okay, so these are the cookies that were set just now. There's that login cookie. We open it up, you can see the value for it. Test user. The name of the cookie is login. The value in the cookie is test user. It's for the localhost domain. Its path is for chapter 12. So any of the programs in chapter 12 will be able to read this cookie. It's for any kind of connection. It is possible to limit the connection to HTTPS for a secure connection. But let's see. Yes, there it is. There it is, exactly 2 months from today. Remember that we set the expiry date to be 2 months from today, and February 24th to April 24th, there's your exactly 2 months. Now the other cookie was called password, and the value in that password was password, which of course is the worst password in the world. But you can see how the cookies are set. You can also look at your cookies with Firefox if that's your preferred browser. It's actually pretty easy. You can just hit Shift F9 in Firefox. Anyway, I wanted you to see that. I'll shut that down for now. So we've set some cookies here. I want to go back to NetBeans for a minute and we'll take a look at some other things that we can do. Everybody okay on this so far? How we set those cookies?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's look at, by the way, when we ran that, we were running baked cookie. This is baked cookie here. Now let's say I want to delete those cookies. You can delete a cookie by, you have to do several things actually to delete a cookie. Here's the program that's going to delete the cookie. What you can do is set its expiry date to a date that's already passed. So as you can see here, I'm going to use string to time to get the current timestamp, and then I'm going to subtract 1 year from it. So by doing that, that'll set the expiry date of the cookie to a past date. Cookies will expire when they get to their expiry date. So setting the cookie to an expiry date in the past is going to delete the cookie. However, it's also a good idea to have to specify which cookie we're going to change, by the way. We're going to delete the password cookie only, and we're going to set its value to be an empty string, and then we'll set its expiry date to be that date in the past, 1 year in the past. So that should delete the cookie. Let's see if that does in fact work. So I'm going to go back and choose delete cookie. There it is here. And it says the password cookie was deleted. Okay. Now let's see. We could go back and look in the settings to check that. I think I will. Let's just go back and look in Chrome. We'll go to the advanced page, content settings, cookies, CLO cookies. We only have one cookie left in localhost, and it's the login cookie because we got rid of the password cookie. So one cookie was still remaining. We only got rid of one. So that seems to have worked properly. If we, no, I just killed off the site, so I'll go back to it here. If we try read cookie, I didn't even run read cookie yet. Let's try run read cookie. Read cookie is going to read the cookie. Let's take a look at the PHP file for read cookie. Here it is. Here's read cookie. We're going to read it into a variable called $user. The cookie that we're going to read is the login cookie. And we use the input underscore cookie method, kind of like, we use import underscore post and so on. And we're going to use filter input in case there's something nasty in that cookie. And we'll also try to read the password as well. Unfortunately, I deleted it, so I think we're going to have a little problem here. But it actually comes up just empty. If you try to read a cookie that doesn't exist, it'll be empty. So now we're going to welcome back the user. So that'll be the value from one of the cookies, and this will be the value from the other cookie. But as we see back here, there's nothing after the password. We've got the test user, that's the value in the login, but the password did not show up. So if I go back and run the set cookie, I'll bake the cookie again. Bake the cookie again. Okay, now the cookie's been set. And now I'm going to go back and run the read cookie. See, there's the password, right? So we've got both cookies are set right now. If I go back and run the delete cookie, it deleted the password cookie only. And if I go back and check that again by running the read cookie, you can see that the password is gone. Now it just says, welcome back test user with password, and then there's nothing after password because we deleted that cookie. So that's basically how you handle HTTP cookies with PHP. It's pretty straightforward. However, it's not the full story. As well as this type of cookie, you can also create session cookies with PHP. You can create sessions. And let's just take a look at how that works. So I'm going to go back to my NetBeans for a moment. And I want to take a look at session underscore 1. There it is, session underscore 1. We can create sessions with PHP, and when we do, we create a super global array, $_session. Just like there's a $_ post and a $_ get, there's $_session, which is an associative array, a super global array. Well, if you put session start at the top of your file, that will start a session. And it'll give it a unique session ID. An ID number is given to that session. Notice where this is put in the file. It's before any of the HTML. It has to be that way because you have to start the session before any HTML output. That's based on how HTTP works. Actually, the TCP protocol that is used to send HTTP packets. Every packet has two main components. There's a header, which has addressing information, including cookie information, and then there's also the payload or cargo part of the packet, which contains the HTML. Well, you have to set the cookie, you have to start your session in the header part of the package, of the packet, before any HTML. So that's why this has to be up here before any of the HTML is output. So look at what we're going to do. We're going to create a hit counter. Do you remember those in the early days of the web? Every time you went to a website, they had this, usually it looked something like a speedometer or an odometer reading on the dashboard of your car. It would show how many times people had visited the website. Hit counter. It was pretty funny now when you look back at it. But we can create a counter. If it's not set, what we'll do is we'll create a session variable called count. That'll add on to the $_session array an element called count with a value of 1. Now, if it already exists, if it's already set, we'll add 1 onto the count. And then down here, as you can see a little bit later on in the body of the page, we're going to echo out the session ID. So we'll see what the session ID is.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
And you'll see that that's a long, my echo just started talking on me. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That freaks me out. I'm in a condominium and there's so many people nearby with wireless networks. Pretty dangerous. Anyway, this should show the session ID. Every session gets a unique ID number, and that's what is used for on the server side to look up. You send your session ID the next time you connect. The server uses that session ID to read the cookies associated with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple more here. We're going to create an IP session cookie called IP and we're going to use the $_server superglobal array. There's so many of these in PHP, these $_ and then all caps. These always are superglobal arrays whenever you see that syntax. And there's one for remote address, which should store the IP address. That's the IP address of the remote server. And then we're going to store another one for course, store 1842 in the name of this course. And then we have a link to go to the next page, which is going to bring up session_2. Remember, we're looking at session_1 right now. So let's give this a run. Go back and give that a try. Session_1. Okay, there's the session ID. As you can see, it's a long hexadecimal code. Well, it's not even hexadecimal. We got D's and V's in there. So it's a long number. And here's the link that'll take us to session_2. Okay, now in session_2, let's just take a look at the code that's in there. Session_2, we have to have session start at the top of every one of these files that wants to use sessions. What that does, if there's no session started, it'll start one with a unique ID. If there is an ID, it'll just open that one. So this is going to be the same session that we started back in the previous file. So let's see, we're going to output the value of the IP address and also the count variable that's in $_session. We're going to run session get cookie params, and that'll show the various parameters that have been established for setting cookies. This is an important function here because it determines actually 5 or so different arguments for how cookies are being set. Let's see if we can show you where that is in the book. Fortunately, I don't have the ebook running right now, but you can find that. Flip a few pages here. You've got the book open. And the page that I was wanting to get to. Yeah, on page 359. You'll see it on page 359 in the book. There's the parameters that you can set are the lifetime of the session cookie in seconds. You can specify the path, and by default, the path is your current directory. You can set the domain, and then you have 2 booleans, one for secure, which means that it's only going to work on a HTTPS connection, and there's also another one for HTTP only, which means that the cookie will not be available. If you set that to true, it will not be available for JavaScript, for example, to read, because JavaScript can also read cookies. So we're going to...
So is that the normal?
Yeah.
To use the HTTP only?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty standard, but you could, if you want to make it super secure, you could set it to be secure. So this is going to create $cookies, and then we're going to go through $cookies. You notice that this is the associative array syntax, right? we're going to go through the $cookies array, getting the key and the value in each case, and we'll print those out. And then I basically did the same thing. I wanted to print all the elements in $_session. Used a for each loop to do that as well. I put it in a table. So here's the output. Now, this is localhost, by the way. That's the IP address. That's what we got from the remote adder, remote_ADDR in $_server. That's equivalent to localhost. That's like 127.0.0.1. That's what localhost is, by the way. Like I could put that up here. I could put, instead of localhost, I could put HTTP : 127.0.0.1. Press enter. And it's going to take me to the same thing. I got an error message here, though. That's weird. Yeah, that's strange. I don't know why that happened. This is session 2. Something on line 12. Well, it was okay back here. That's strange. Not sure why that happened. But the point that I was trying to make is this : 1 down here, that's localhost. And these are the values that we read out of the $_session super global array. And there's localhost up there as well. We've got the lifetime set to 0 here. So this cookie will disappear as soon as we close this page. As soon as we shut down the browser, here we go. Now, let's see if we can take a look at the session cookie inside Chrome. So I'm going to go to, once again, to the settings. Scroll down to the advanced section. Go to the content settings, cookies, and I want to see all cookies and site data. Okay, I've got one cookie in localhost, and that would be the login. Oh, there's the session ID. There's the session ID, and that should be the same thing that we saw back there earlier, I guess. Or if not, we've set a new session. And let's see what else we have back here. Localhost, we got 2 cookies from localhost, session ID. That's the one we had right there. And that's our localhost session ID, which we saw back here, right there. I believe that's the same one. And let's see what else we have here. Well, I've got a number that is set by the college and sites that I've been visiting recently. But you can see the session cookies are there. Okay, so I want to try session 2 one more time here. So there it is. We've got a couple of values. We've got the IP address set in the session cookie. We've got this counter in the session cookie. And we've got the course name. Now what I'd like to do is try to delete that. Let's see what happens if we run this code called delete. Session delete, right down here at the bottom, session delete. Well, I'm going to open that up in NetBeans first. Here it is, session delete. Once again, we've got session start. Well, if you want to delete the session, what you want to do is set the session array to be an empty array. An array with empty parentheses sets it to be empty. So that erases the entire array. And then there's a session_destroy, which will I'll close the session down completely. So I'm going to run that one now, back here. And it's gone. Everything is gone. And we can verify that if we go back and try session_2, we get some error messages where we tried to print out the values in the session cookie error message instead, because it's gone. And notice, got nothing down here, nothing in the session. Well, that's it in a nutshell, honestly. That's most of what you need to know for this chapter. If there's anything back there that we didn't try. There's a little bit here that's not covered in this chapter, so you're not responsible for it. Like, for example, there's a members only, a logout, and an auth main. That's actually for the next chapter. So that'll be the first thing we do in PHP 2 if you take PHP 2 after this course, and we hope you do. We'll get into storing the session data in a database.
Cool.
That's the best way to store it. So you can make HTTP cookies by using set cookie. So that's all you need to create your cookies is set cookie. And you can make session cookies by creating a session, like we did with session_1 here. And you can make session cookies by adding them to the $_session super global array. I just thought you might want to see as well the settings for sessions in PHP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm currently in the chapter 12 project, so I'm just going to go back to htdocs. Now I'm just in htdocs, and I'm going to click on dashboard. That's that start page that you see in XAMPP. Well, in here there's PHP info. And I want to bring that up for a second, because this shows you all of the settings for PHP that were set on your computer for your system when you install XAMPP. Look at all the settings. But if I do a search, Control F will allow me to search for session. And you can see there's an entire section on sessions with all kinds of values. Session support is enabled. Cookie lifetime by default is 0. Cookie path, notice the cookie path is a slash.
Yep.
The cookie path is a slash. That means the root directory of your project. So that any file on your system could read it. That's a good idea. Cookie secure is not set for secure by default, but we could make it that way. All of these things you could change in PHP INI. All of these settings are from PHP INI. And PHP INI is in your XAMPP folder in the PHP folder, and you could go in there and change some of these settings. I wanted you to see the PHP info that's back there available from the dashboard. Just as, by the way, as MySQL is available from the dashboard. So let's see what you have to do for your assignment for this week. For this week, what you have to do is you have to create a page 1. You're going to start a session and display the session ID. Assign the string hello world to a session cookie. You choose the key. this would be the value. Hello world would be the value. So you're going to do something like set cookie and $_session inside the square brackets. You have to choose a key name, and then you set it to be hello world. So I guess if you like, it would be something like this. Only you're going to be setting this part here would be the key that you want, and then this is going to be a string hello world for that cookie. But you use $_session like this to set it. So that's how you have to get that started. Then you want it to display the string in the cookie. So you can display it back again. Make 2 more session cookies. You make them up, but don't display them. Okay? Just make up a couple of cookies, but don't display them. And then add a link that goes to another page called page 2. Kind of like what we did with session_1 and session_2. In the second page, assign Mirac to another session cookie. Use the key publisher. Delete the cookie that stored hello world. Use a for each loop to display all the cookie names and values. And then finally add a third link, which will open up a third page. In page 3, delete all the session cookies and destroy the session. Delete the session cookie from the browser as well. And here's the sample output of the whole thing. This is what you should see on page 1. Page 2 should show up something like this. And page 3 should show that there are no cookies left because you've deleted the session. Destroyed it. So, any question about what to do about that? If you would like to start on it, well, I mean, we've got quite a bit of time remaining here, about almost 20 minutes left. If you want, you could start on this, and I can let you folks display. I can give over control to you so that you're showing me your screen, if you like, and we could try that.
That'd be cool with me, but
Yeah.
I'm not finished with all the stuff I was trying to get to.
Okay. Well, why don't you? Like what I'd like to do is have you maybe try this. See if you can make this page 1.
So you want me to set up a page?
Yeah. You have to create your own pages here. You got to, for the assignment, you got to make these 3 pages.
Okay.
That operate like this. Now for this first one, you could pretty much design it after this page here. Pretty close to that. The key thing is you got to put session start at the top before any HTML. I'm just suggesting that you might want to try that. It's up to you. You can do something else if you like. But that's basically all you need to know for your assignment. And that's the last one. No exam. All you got to do is finish this up.
Okay.
Next week we'll have just a general session where you can ask any questions to finish up any assignments that you have any trouble with. We could maybe help you with them.
So you said I had to put starts.
Yeah, session start should be the first thing. Yeah.
Session start. Session start. And then